everyone, and Happy New Year to you. Welcome to our New Year's Day special big interview, and we are joined by an absolute comedy legend. Welcome to you, Stephen Bailey.
Oh, thanks for having me. Do you know, that's such a nice introduction. I don't think I'm a comedy legend. I don't get awards or anything, but I do think I will be a comedy legend, very much in the way of Joan Rivers once I've died.
Do you know what, though? I think anyone that's actually seen you live already thinks you're a comedy legend.
Certainly a comedy genius.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think I'm quite lucky because the people that follow me get it and they stay in touch. But there's so many people that will just be like, well, you've seen it, haven't you? I mean, on Facebook, you know, when you get your little Facebook ads, be like, Stephen Bailey's got on tour, and you either get who or you get gay. And it's like, well, both are accurate. Who? I am someone.
Yes, well done.
Gay. Well done. Well observed. Not trying to hide it here, girl.
Do you know what, though, Stephen? We came to see you in a little village hall in Bath, down like a little side street opposite a kebab house. And although
they have the audacity to call that a theatre.
I know. But the beauty of those venues is you're really connected to your crowd, aren't you? And I think everyone walks out of that gig feeling like you were their new best friend.
Yeah, that's what I try and do. I've always tried to do it. I think it's really interesting. I can't wait to see how people will feel on the other side of this pandemic, to be honest, because I always want it to be escapism and like you're just sat around the pub but being entertained as well, and you have made a new friend, like like people message me sometimes, be like, oh my god, you're so nice to your fans, and I'm like, I don't have fans, I just pick up extra friends along the way, because I think comedy got to that point where it's like all about what's your message. In every interview people are like, what you trying to say? And I'm like, I don't know, I just talk about willies, so I don't really know. Whereas now people are like, I think people are going to want this light relief on the other side. So people are going to want to hear about what my mum sounds like when she's not wearing a bra.
I think they do. People are going to need light relief now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think people are over it. Do you remember like when Brexit, well, it's still happening, but when Brexit, comedians only spoke about Brexit. So every TV channel I put on, comedians doing Brexit. I'd crop up and do a Willy joke, and then it'd be Brexit. And I don't think it's going to be the same with the pandemic. I don't think people want pandemic jokes or coronavirus jokes. I think people are fed up about hearing about it.
Yeah, back to Willies and real life.
Nobody ever gets fed up of Willy jokes. They've been around for centuries and they will continue.
That's it. And I do have one vagina joke as well, because I did have a girlfriend once for about 3 minutes.
Go on, give us your vagina.
Oh, well,
go on.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to do the vagina joke because it is, well, first of all, I'm saving it for tour. How dare you? Second of all, do you know when you're just like, even though you did your little disclaimer at the top, this is too much for that. It's about touching a lady's. Yeah, it's about touching a lady's foofy.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. We'll save it. That means we'll have to go and buy tickets.
We'll all have to come and see you when we're out of lockdown.
If we ever tour again, you'll hear it.
Oh,
I can't wait.
You will. But listen, going back to that little place in Bath, right? We arrived early for that gig, and we went to the pub down the road, right? 2 lesbians in this tiny little town in Bath, like so small, really so small. Yeah. And we approached this pub, and on the doorway into the pub, it said, What was the wording?
Hippies not welcome.
So we went, hippies not welcome. I don't think they're going to like lesbians. And we went back up. We waited outside the theatre for about 45 minutes.
We had a warm can of beer outside the theatre.
It's so funny when you get to these places, isn't it? And you just walk in and you go, oh, this probably isn't for me.
But listen, you grafted so hard, didn't you? Because, you know, that's a few years ago now. I think it's probably about 3 years ago. And it seemed like in 10 minutes later, we were seeing you on the big screen, you know, and you were working with Zoe Ball on her show, and you've done Live at the Apollo, and you've done loads. I mean, how did that happen? That growth was so quick for you.
It's so funny. It's so funny because I've been doing it for 9 years now, so it didn't feel quick. But it was one of those things where it's like, Do you know when people say all it takes is like one person and one thing? And literally, one of my gays, he thinks I'm the funniest thing ever. He's so fit. He's called Louis. And
Hi, Louis.
he's absolutely, and he's a nice person as well. And he came to see, I've known him maybe about 5 years through another friend, and he came to see my show. And then the next minute, he's a TV producer, and he was working on the Zoe Ball show. And they were looking for like maybe a comedian. They wanted to have a different comedian every week just to keep it light on a Saturday morning. And he was like, and my agent just so happened to email the booker of this show, and the booker just said my name out like, oh, Stephen Bailey. Does anyone know Stephen Bailey? Da, 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 da. And Louis just went, oh my God, he's amazing. Like, it was just right place, right time. Everything just fell into place. And they were like, right, we'll give him one episode to give him a go. He's not done anything before. We'll see what it's like. So I went in and I was episode 1. This is when you start getting a bit woo-woo about the universe, which I normally roll my eyes at, but sometimes you can't argue. And I go in on episode 1. Catherine Ryan was on as a guest as well, and I tour supported Catherine, and she was promoting.
I love her.
I love her. I think she was promoting like Roast Battle or something like that. And so that felt easier straight away because I was like, oh, my mate's here. And then me and Zoe just hit it off. And then after the recording, I was like, oh, that was a nice day. And then I got a phone call being like, do you want to do every week?
It's incredible.
And that was it. And then it's so funny how stupid, I say this quite openly all the time, how stupid TV producers are. Because it was like, I got that. And then obviously people are like, they want to like latch on before they can afford you because they think you're going to get as big as Romesh and Catherine where you're pricey. And then I got offered... And then I got offered Celebs on the Farm, which again was another one. So I used to work behind the scenes in TV, and this guy that I'd written to when I was at uni, being like, "How'd you get a job in TV?" Da, 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 da. He just messaged me and was like, "Oh, come and meet me." Da, da, da. And he gave me a job as a runner, which is like the first role in TV. And then it was like 7 or 8 years later, he messaged me and goes, "Oh, I've got this show. It's like on a farm and da da da." And I was like, "I'll take it." And then it's just funny, like the more you work, the more you get. So obviously this year's been a nightmare. But yeah, so it just all fell into place. And I remember I got this bit in Coronation Street, and that was only 2 episodes. And that was because I met someone at ITV, and here's me trying to be like, I want to present The Masked Singer. And that here's them going, I think you'd be really good in Corrie. And I'm like, I can't act. And it was a bit like, neither can they.
That must have been a dream come true, though.
It was good, and it was just surreal. But it was that thing of going, oh, I finally can do something my mum's heard of. But it was only 2 episodes, and it was plenty. And yeah, I loved it. And then what's so funny about that was because you can say you're on Corrie, and kind of like the press picked up on it, being like, where have you seen him before? Like host of Celebs on the Farms, now in Corrie. Because I think people thought I was going to be in it a lot longer than I was. Like, I don't think people realised it was just 2 episodes. And then it was all like, oh, do you want to do The Apprentice You'll Fire? Do you want to do Live at the Apollo? Just because you're on Corrie for a bit. I mean, people are very stupid. But it worked in my favour.
Yeah, you've just exploded onto the scene, haven't you? Do you find it hard to adjust your comedy for you know, the primetime TV and you know, being polite and not doing your willy gags on air? Do you forget yourself sometimes? Not
really, like because I did Zoe's show for a year. I had really good practice on that, obviously, because it was 8:30 in the morning. You couldn't even push it because it is too early. But it's also like, do you know, I always say this, is like you can tell which comedians are just like from rich Oxbridge, like our politicians, and they have no sense of reality or being, where it's like, you know, I have children in my family, so I'm not, so the way me and my mum and dad will sit around when I'm at their house having a voddy, being inappropriate, obviously when the kids are there, I'm not like that. So it's just like, I've lived a real life. When I worked on checkouts, I couldn't do me dick jokes. Do you know what I mean? You had to do like your nudge, nudge, wink, wink ones. So it was like, I just had real life experience that allows me to rein it in. But then there are things that I do get proud of myself, like when I did Live at the Apollo, and everyone always does like political bit or worthy bits. And I did a bit about a guy having cum gutters, as I call them. And I will tell you, I had such a great gig that night. The audience loved it, but the BBC's very rarely been in touch since.
Oh well, stuff them.
Yeah.
Is it different working that kind of crowd? Because when we came to see you interact with your crowd in such a way. You spent the whole night calling us
Oh, you've glitched.
relate
You've
is coming back. Apologies. It's New Year's Day internet, and everybody in the world is trying to use the internet. So
that's
sorry,
it. Everyone's
viewers.
hungover on the
There we
internet.
go.
Everyone's
There you
like,
are.
oh. What was the question?
Oh,
We've got you, Stephen.
we've got you, Stephen. Can you hear us?
Yay, I've got you back. Yes.
Yay! Should we try again?
Yeah,
Time.
miracle of modern technology. All we were saying is you interact with you're different when you play a large venue like the O.
Well, do you know, I don't play it any different. Like, I had cameramen chasing audience members that were going for a wee. I played it like a gig because that's what they've come for. And also, they sit through 6 people during the record. So you've got 6 acts all doing 30 minutes. A very long night for an audience. And also, the audience don't know who they're getting. So it's like, you need to be good. So I had cameramen chasing them if they go in for a wee or to the bar. Like, I just treated it like a gig. And then I was like, it's not my job to edit around it, is it? It's theirs. My job is to make sure they have a nice time. And what I find bizarre is some acts go out and they don't even acknowledge that it's a TV show or a TV environment. They just go, welcome to Live at the Apollo, and then start doing the jokes. Whereas I spent 5 minutes saying how bullshit it was, and I was like, I'll do a joke for you that they can't put on the BBC. No, I just acknowledged it, which I don't know if it's helpful or not, but that's what I did. The audience enjoyed it. And I'm just a big, firm believer, even if it is a detriment to my career, you play for the audience. They are the ones giving up their time. They're the ones that are paid for a ticket. They deserve the best time. Like, producers are just going to have to suck it up.
It's brilliant. And in the smaller venues, we were wondering when we went to see you, if you, like, as soon as you came out, you seemed to have a handle on the audience immediately. Like, you were able to pick out who was the young little baby gay there with her dad and, all of these things. Do you look from the wings, or is it all just like off the cuff when you walk out?
No, I do it as soon as I come out. I can kind of tell if an audience is going to be fun or awful from listening backstage. Like, if you can hear everyone where they're chatting with their mates, already having a laugh, you can tell they've got a drink in their hands. It's going to be a great show. If you're sat backstage and it sounds like no one's in the room, it's going to be problematic. But I quite like that because you go, I don't believe you should ever blame the audience, but I do think there are times when it is the audience's fault. Like, I remember doing Soho Theatre and I did 4 nights. And there was one night when I was in the back room and I was getting dead excited because I could hear them all laughing, chatting, having a drink. And it was an amazing show. And there was another night where I was like, have I sold any tickets? And they were both sold out. And I went out, and the quiet night where it was quiet before I'd even started stayed quiet. And I was like, well, that's not my fault. Like, if they're not even talking to their mates, they're not going to give me anything. And then the night when they were all shit-faced with the mates, obviously, it was wild and amazing. So I don't ever think it's, sometimes people are like, oh, you're a tough audience, aren't you? And I don't think, I think there's a quiet, because I'm shy when I'm in an audience. I'm like, don't you dare pick on me. I can't bear it. Do not talk to me. Like, so I'm like, and I'm one of those people that laugh with my mouth open and no noise. Like, I laugh like that. And now it comes out.
Oh, brilliant.
So since you've been on telly and since you've been working with the likes of Zoe Ball, you've met some incredible people. Have you had an experience where you've been completely starstruck by somebody you're working with?
Do you know, normally I don't care because I am a fan of celebrity and all things TV, but most of the time I really don't care because I think people are people and I think people should be treated like people. But having said that, when I met Cheryl Cole and Michelle Visage separately, I lost my shit. I really lost my shit. Like, with Cheryl in particular, I almost had to take, like, with Michelle, I tried to play it a bit cooler, being a bit like, no, I'm a minor Z-list celebrity. We're okay. She started out as a minor Z-list celebrity, and look at her now, and I am one. We're on the same page here. Like, so fake it till you make it. With Cheryl, I had to almost do like the run up. Do you know, it was at the Attitude Awards, so it's like I walked around a table fucking circling her about 6 times before I went in.
Oh, brilliant. Have you ever been starstruck?
Yeah, we interviewed Peter Tatchell a few weeks ago, and I was completely starstruck by him. He's such an incredible man, and I was,
I couldn't get my words out. I was going, you ask it, I can't do it.
I met him actually at a dinner once, and he was really nice as well. Everyone is so nice if you give them the chance to be. Like, that's what I always find baffling. I always think the tends to be the worst people, the ones around them.
Yeah. He was lovely though, wasn't he?
We found the same as you. You know, we've been doing these interviews, and we've interviewed some pretty big names. And if you approach it just like you're just speaking to a person rather than what they represent and their job, then you get on all right, don't you?
100%. It's so, because I actually said to Cheryl, I was like, I was dead nervous to come over. She was like, oh, give up, man. Like, I can't do a Geordie accent, so I won't try. But I was like, see, she's just normal. Like, I imagine the problematic ones are those around her. Sometimes, though, I always say to my agent, I'm like, can you be more problematic on my behalf, please?
Make people work for it.
Yeah, people think I'm too nice, so I don't get any more money.
Wow. So listen, you always talk about your mum quite a lot in your shows, don't you?
Yeah.
The Diamond, is she the mum that everybody would want?
Yeah, do you know, because I have a big issue about being working class. I don't mind being working class, but I hate how, well, do you know how London forgets the North exists? And, you know, when people are like, you remember like during the first bit of the pandemic when all the celebs were like, just stay home, guys. It's so easy. I don't know why you're breaking it. And they're like one person in this like national forest sized garden. And then it's like, I was like, my friend's got 4 kids in a 2-bed flat. Like, it's very different. It's not as easy as you think, love. So I do get bonnet with that. And, you know, when you see things like on all, especially in my work, you see all these topical shows, and only the posh comedians can be on a topical show, you know, like the ones that don't talk about willies or gig in Birmingham on a weekend. They can be on the topical shows. And I always think, but then I think of my mum, and I'm always like, my mum has more emotional intelligence than anyone that has ever been to Oxbridge in their whole life. Like, I'm one of the lucky ones where there was no upset or drama or anger to my coming out. It was just kind of like, I felt so confident that I didn't even realize it was a big thing. I honest to God, I always say this to my partner now, like, I think I was like 22 when I realized that people had an issue with gays, because obviously at home, you're at home till you're 16. I was at college, so I was there till 18. I didn't move out when I went to uni. I was very happy at my house. And so it wasn't until 22 when I moved to London that I realized people could be awful. And I'd been protected in this bubble, and the estate I'd grown up on. Everyone was just like, oh, that's Stephen. That's the way he is. He flails his hands. And so much so that when I've never come out, really. Technically, I've never come out. All I did was take a boyfriend home in the same way a straight boy. Yeah. Is that what you did?
Exactly. Yeah, because, you know, I didn't feel like I had to. It was pretty bloody obvious that I was a raging homo. And I just took a girlfriend home, and they were like, well, that's Kel, you know?
Yeah. And but I mean, first of all, that is what we're fighting for. But you go, oh, that's how it is. And because I've become more vocal about LGBT rights, because I think people think it's there. I think since we got same-sex marriage, people are like, oh, they're all right now. Job done. Right now. Like, I think they forget it was only 30 years ago since WHO declassified homosexuality as a mental illness. I think people forget, like, that's recent. Like, and then people go, oh, it's your internalized homophobia. Yeah, because until the age of bloody 4, I was mentally ill, apparently. Do you know, like, it's ridiculous. And I think that's why I speak up about it now, is going, because it should be as easy as I had it, actually. It really should. It should be that way for, like, no one should have any concern or any trepidation about taking someone home. It should be that easy for everyone. So that's why I speak about it. And, you know, what my favourite is when straight, white, rich women tell me that I'm wrong about LGBT rights.
Ugh.
Those ones.
Yeah. And they're everywhere, aren't they? Like, you come across them everywhere. But I think, we're working really hard, as you are, and people like you who have such a high profile and such a wide platform. It's so important that you continue to do it, and you do a great job, I think, for the community. So thanks so much for everything you do for that.
I actually don't even think I do that much. Just, do you know what else I try and do? Because I try and keep it out of my comedy, unless, so the show I'd written that was on the road this year before, it fell apart. Me and my partner experienced homophobia for holding hands in a park in central London, and I've never experienced it before. And I was like, this is bonkers. So I did a whole bit about it in my show, but normally I don't. I just save it for Instagram. Do you know, everyone's talking about James Corden doing the prom?
Yeah.
And slagging him off. I feel like I don't mind James Corden in the prom, but it is problematic for the gay community that, once again, the lead role in a queer story is told by a straight man. There is a problem behind it. And I just think, you're telling me in Hollywood there's not a gay actor that could have done that. And it's I just think there's certain times when you have to acknowledge. I thought he was great in it. But then when people are messaging me, be like, if you want it equal, anyone should be able to play that role. And it's well, in all your films, it's always played by straight white men in it. So it's not equal then, is it? And that's that, really.
There isn't that level of equality yet. I believe that as an actor should be able to play any part, and that would include gay actors playing straight, when they want to. But, what's
100% agree.
Yeah, the good thing is we're getting more queer characters on screen, on television and on stage now, which can only be a good thing.
Because I do agree with you.
We watched it the other week, didn't we? And can you hear me? Are we good?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We watched it. Me and our 15-year-old daughter, and one of our other children as well. And she identifies as a lesbian. She bloody loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was going, oh sweet God, will it ever end? But actually, the key is the visibility, isn't it? And having that on the screen, and for young people to be able to see that is just fantastic. And it's great now, because when she came out, she had no problem being who she was. She just said it as it was. And I think that's what's brilliant about this generation. They're so open about themselves. And I think 100%. The more we can encourage that, the better. Yeah.
And I think they know what to look for. When I was coming out, it wasn't really, when I just existed, it wasn't really discussed in the same way. Do you know, where you explore yourself and all this? So I always say I'm such a vanilla gay. I've done nothing. I've really done nothing. And but just back to the performing, I completely agree with you guys where anyone should play any role. I just think sometimes it's Jack Whitehall is playing the voice of the first ever openly gay Disney character. And I just feel like that is such a big moment. You're not telling me there's not a gay guy that is better or just as good for the role. Jack could be brilliant. He is brilliant. James Corden's brilliant. But every now and again I just think, come on. Do you know The Boys in the Band, where it was a whole gay male cast playing gay roles? I was like, see, it can be done, and it's getting those actors in work and blah blah blah. But yeah,
it could be a good thing though. Going back to, do you remember when Brokeback Mountain came out and the furore that was around that? And there was two straight actors. Those two guys were actually at that time brave to take on the role, and they gave it an element of normality. And they said, you shouldn't be frightened to, to play gay men in roles. And I think there probably is still an issue in Hollywood where a lot of the leading men are afraid to come out. So to encourage that as being a normal thing to do and to play gay characters can be a positive thing for coming out.
Yeah. It's just so boring, isn't it? I'm just gonna get bored that we have to talk about it. It's
Oh, I know. Should we move on to something that's not boring?
Yeah.
Do you want to do some agony aunt questions for us?
Fave. Yes, I do. I love telling people how to live their lives.
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go on, after you. You do the first
All right.
one.
Okay. So this, do you know what? We hear this one an awful lot at Pride in Surrey, right? So, and we hear it from both sides. This question is coming from a guy, but it could quite easily come from Luke, right? And he says, I've fallen for a guy at work big time, and I've no idea if he's gay. How do I know?
Well, I wouldn't trust me. Honest to God. I'm just going to say I would, because I have that thing in my brain where if I fancy them, it just means they're gay. Do you know? I am that bad gay where it's like they're definitely gay. They've just not told us yet. There's a guy that lives above us in the flat we've just moved into. He's this runner, and I convinced myself he was gay. And every day he goes for a run, and every day this is all he does. He goes, "Hey, are you all right?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm good. Are you?" I'm convinced we've had top-notch banter. And then the other day he came out and I was like, that's it. He's going to come in for an affair when my boyfriend's away. We're going to have an affair. It's going to be amazing. Then he walked out one day with his bloody girlfriend and had the audacity to say, "Hiya." But I was like, well, they are. And then I'm that guy that goes, well, they are young. Yeah.
Oh, so you've no clues then?
No, I think
no way to know.
I think, but do you know, I always think for me, it should be. I mean, it might not be, but it should be just like if a guy asks a girl out and she's not interested in him, I think it should just be like that. Be like, oh, hey, do you want to get a coffee sometime? And then the guy should go, oh, actually, I'm not gay, but I'm very flattered. If anything, I've advised how the recipient should do it.
But you're right, though. It shouldn't be an issue. If you're not interested, you're not.
Well, it's like when you know someone's gay, isn't it? And they still bloody reject you. It's the same thing.
Shall we move on to the next one?
Yes.
Okay, this one's from a younger person. This one's from Dylan, who's a teenager. My homophobic uncle in our support bubble. I usually avoid him, but I won't get away with it over Christmas and New Year. How do I deal with his sneaky jibes about me across the dinner table?
Do you know, I always think bigots are scared. No, bullies, they always say the bully's really the weak one and the scared one. And I think it's like that. And my advice would be you go through the pain and you go through the problem where it's and you can do confrontation in such a non-aggressive way where it doesn't kick off, and that you can do it in such an intelligent way where you pull them up and you just go you can't say that, and then they're and then you go, no, the reason you can't say that is because obviously I don't know what the uncle's saying, so I can't give an exact example, but you can be like, you know, we're educated, and you can say to them, listen, Uncle Brian, or whatever his name is, you can't say that. This is not the way to speak to people. That is very homophobic, and I'm not willing to sit at this dining room table if you carry on. And guess what? I live here, so you come into our bubble, you respect me. Any issues, off you go. Be on your own this Christmas. That's what I'd say.
That'd be good. Everyone was brave enough to be able to stand up to homophobic Uncle Brian.
It's so bad. I do think sometimes, I mean, I think it's, you know, when people haven't caught up with the times, like, so it was like, you know, I always say, do you know when do you remember when that article came out where it was like, Friends is so homophobic. The TV show Friends is super homophobic. And it's like, the TV show isn't homophobic. 1996 was homophobic. That was the issue.
Yes.
And I think, like, if Friends happened now, they wouldn't have those jokes about Ross and Chandler being offended if someone thought they were gay. They wouldn't have that now because the times have changed. I think sometimes it's just people like people have just kept on to old school phrases sometimes. They're like, oh, that, you know, that bloody camp lad, or, you know, one of the ones like my uncle said to me before is, I bet she'd turn you straight. And I'm like, that's not a thing.
Unlikely.
Yeah. You wish.
Right, okay. Ready for another one. Right, okay, this one as well. Oh my goodness. Right, I'm desperate to come out to my family, but I'm scared. Should I just bite the bullet and do it? And this, they haven't left their name. It's 15-year-old.
I don't know. What do you girls think on that? Because I feel like I'd hate to ever tell anyone to come out and it all go horribly wrong. I imagine I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but we've researched the figures and we know that not people don't necessarily deserve the benefit of the doubt because, it is hard out there still. Like, I was shocked when I read this year that, I think it was the stats came out this year from last year, where it was hate crimes against LGBTQ plus people had risen by 55% in London.
Yeah.
So I'm always a bit trepidatious at telling people, just go for it. But from my experience, the way I found it was just in my head, I didn't even think about it. And I know friends where they've built it up in their head, got so anxious about it, and then it's been fine. What do you guys think? What do you guys say when people say about coming out? Because actually, I find that the hardest one, really.
Personal. It's very personal, isn't it? And just to touch back on those stats, I think the stats are hugely inflated by people having the confidence to report hate crime now. So that is something to bear in mind there.
Which is a good thing. We do need people to report us. That is a good thing.
I think in general, the population is a lot more tolerant of gay people. And I think in my experience, when a young person comes out, they usually find that their families and their parents knew all along, and they were just waiting for the young person to have the confidence and, that to be able to just say it. And I think that is generally what we find. However, there are anomalies where families do take it very badly.
Yeah, I think as well, it's important to maybe stagger your coming out, right? So I always said to our daughter, to come out into her safe zone first. So her pals at school who she knew were going to accept her or whatever, and then sort of broaden it, right? So if you come out to people who are going to love you anyway, no matter what, then you've always got that support in place. And then if it goes wrong somewhere down the line in your coming out plan, then you've got that always to fall back on. So I think with all of these things, you've got to choose your moment well. I don't think it's ever good to do it over Christmas time or New Year or anything like that. I think just
guess what, Uncle Brian?
Yeah. I think choose your moment well and make sure you've got a backup and a support plan in place in case it doesn't go to plan. But also, I think just be willing to be who you are, because there's nothing more powerful than that. And I can say that as somebody who didn't come out until I was 37, right? So I'm late in the game. And it was the best thing that I've ever done in my entire life, was to be authentically myself. And if you can do that from a young age, then you're not going to lose time being you. And I think it's really important to do it, but do it safely when you're feeling confident. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I think it's just so personal, isn't it, with the coming out journey? And I think, I can't wait for us to get to a day where I genuinely think there'll be more people like me one day, where you don't come out, you're just kind of like, here's my boyfriend, and it just some clarification, let's say.
Yeah, I mean that's the point, isn't it? Coming out isn't actually essential. Just live your life, and people will know who you are. You don't necessarily have to make a big declaration to everyone you meet. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, because at the minute it does feel like, I was talking to my friend about this the other day, actually. It does feel like we're still at a point where you're always coming out. Like when you start that new job, people are like, so is your husband, to see which way you go. Like, or, even when you go to the gym and you get a PT, it's like, do you fancy me? Yes, I do. Take your top off. That's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah, you do come out daily, don't you?
Yeah.
But not necessarily in a I'm gay jazz hands kind of way. Just, you slip in there and say, oh, my wife says that, or it can be a gentle process. And it's just talking about your life. It's not declaring your sexuality and who you like to sleep with at every given opportunity. It's just talking about your life.
You do it at every job interview, don't you?
Yeah, whenever I've gone for job interviews, I'll discuss my wife, because it just, I don't want to go into a job where somebody's homophobic and doesn't want me there. So you just, declare yourself.
Yeah, love that.
It's the way to do it. Right.
So should we move on? We've got a question from Janet for you now, Stephen.
I love a Janet.
Oh, who doesn't love a Janet?
I love a
Janet. Janet says, my husband died last year.
Oh, God.
And I've been a closeted lesbian my whole life. I'm 60 now. Am I too old to come out?
Never, Janet. Never. First of all, condolences about your husband. That's sad. But no, you know, you've lived that life now. Live your next 60 years with another Janet.
Yes. Janet and Janet.
I'm not gonna lie. These things are toughies today. I mean, that's an easy one, Jan. Be yourself, my love. But when it started when my husband's died, I didn't know where it was gonna go.
Well, look, I think Janet should go for it. I think you're right. It's never too late, and you're never too old, and there's an awful lot of life to be lived there. And
it doesn't mention, Janet doesn't mention if she's got children, but I mean, we certainly know people who have come out of straight relationships older, you know, later in life, and their children have been absolutely excellent when they've met same-sex partners. And I think, you know, like you said, it's a generational thing, isn't it? Today's young people are really accepting and quite cool.
Yeah, I think, you know, people have done a really good job, because I've got the same thing, you know, people that have come out later in life, and and their kids have just been like, almost, I would say some of them have almost been blasé. Do you know, just like, all right. Which I guess it's the same in a way of going, so if your parents divorced, or if your parents, similar to Janet there, where you've lost someone, you know, you don't begrudge the parent that's still there finding love again.
No. And, we just want people to be happy, don't we? I think generally as humans, that's how we're wired. And
I think if you're a decent person, that's all you should want, is someone to be happy, live their life, especially if they're doing no harm to anyone. This isn't just about like LGBT as well. This is just about everything, isn't it? It's like you just want everyone to live a life that makes them happy, that keeps them content and mentally safe and sound. And if you don't want that, you're the one in the wrong. There's no argument with that. Is if you really begrudge someone where they're affecting no one else, like, you're the psychopath, quite frankly.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's that age-old thing, isn't it? I think most people are basically good, and you know, it's the odd person. Unfortunately, it's those people that shout the loudest that seem to create the problems. But most people are basically good and happy if other people are happy.
100%.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest question you've had as an agony aunt?
Ooh, the weirdest. I remember one
on Zoe.
Yeah, I remember one on Zoe's where it was like, it's not overly weird, but I just thought, oh, grow up. And I wasn't allowed to say that. But I just thought, it was like, my housemate keeps using all the toilet paper. So when I go to the toilet, there's no toilet paper. And I thought, are you kidding? Are you kidding?
First
so I just
problem.
said to her, well, this is what I said to her. Well, I hope you've got some Flash lemon wipes on the side then.
Ouch.
Yeah. I find stuff like that. What I don't like is when people get pedantic about nothing like that. Like, you know, every question you've asked today has been like quite serious, and I can understand why people ask it. But you know, when people are like, she uses the last sheet of toilet paper. You don't wash a mug after him. Oh, well, just swill the mug when you swill your own then. Do you know? Things like that.
It's people like that struggle to be happy because they look for the negative in every aspect of their lives.
I was just talking to someone about this exact topic not too long ago, where it's like, there are people that, you know, like they finish whinging about one thing and then they start looking for something else. You know, like, there's a drama after a drama. Like, you can never do enough for some people. Get rid of them. That's what I say. Oh my God. This year I have cut people out very happily.
You know what? I didn't do that for years, and like I didn't want to like unfriend people or anything on Facebook. I felt really weird about it. And this year, I've probably got rid of about 10 people, and it's been refreshing. Oh my God, getting those negative influences out of my Facebook feed and you know, social media, brilliant, loved it.
I think there's a level of honesty as well. Like, I had a friend, and we're going back about 10 years now, and we had to stop being friends for a while because I had depression and she had depression, and if we got together and we were both on a depressed day, we would just spiral each other down. It was no good for each of us. And we had a very honest conversation where we're like, we're bad for each other. And now we're like the best of friends because we went away from each other, but we were working on ourselves and in good environments. And we came back to each other. And we're like, oh, we're the friends that we were before we both got our depression and anxieties. And it was
Mm.
so important. And at the time you go, I remember working on that for ages in therapy, being like, oh God, like, did you just bin off a friend that needed you and da. But then you also have to look at your needs. Like we were so bad for each other. And I think we did the best thing for each other. And now we're just like besties again, as if that time wasn't lost or whatever. And I think it's so important. I'm not afraid to do it again. It's like, when you just get people that message you or WhatsApp you, whether it's someone that you actually know or just someone on Facebook, and it's like they're always, they never have anything positive to say, or if you do have a bit of bad news, they don't just go, I'm really sorry that happened to you. I'm here to help. What can I do to support you? Do you want to go and get a McDonald's and sit in the car park and listen to S Club 7 like it's 2002? Or, but they go, oh my God, yeah, and this happened to me. Like, I remember when and it's like, no, what? Why are we all, this, like, I have a friend that calls things like this grief trolls. And I was like, oh, that's so true. Like, they love to just jump on your.
That is a great term.
Yeah.
Grief troll.
And there are so many of them.
And a friend of mine also says people are radiators and some people are drains, and you need to be surrounded by radiators because they keep you warm.
You've got wise friends, Stephen.
Yeah.
I know. And they're all right. But the thing is, they all give you all these woo-woo quotes and you're trying to act them all, and some of them contradict each other. So you're like, oh God.
Oh, dear. So listen, we're about to put 2020 to bed. Thank goodness. What kind of year has it been for you?
Do you know, I have hate. Well, I am actually struggling with this one, right? Because I don't ever want to distract from the deaths, the loss of work, the depression and mental health issues it must have caused. However, on the flip side, for me, I get really bad anxiety to an extent where I'm literally like convulsive shaking. And this year, it has really leveled me out and just really go, because all my anxiety, I think it's come from a working class person in such a middle class world, really. Especially from when I lived in London and was starting to get into the entertainment industry. Like, it's an expensive industry. So if you don't have money to just, I had so many friends where their parents would pay their rent, for example, where they're getting going. Whereas I had to have a 12-hour job to pay me rent in London whilst doing comedy on the side. Like, but I don't mind working like that. But you go, oh, these people are getting opportunities because I used to have people say to me, I'm not taking it seriously enough because I have a job. And I'm like, then how do I live? Like, how do I eat? Or how do I get to this gig in Sheffield for 30 quid? Because let me tell you, the travel is more than the fee. So it's like, when you're starting out, so it's like, how do you do that? I had to have a job. And all that used to really ground me down. And I got into a habit of not saying no to any job. And so you'd miss people's weddings, you'd miss people's birthdays, you'd miss, all these events. And what's really taught me is going, I'm one of the lucky people where I've managed to keep my head afloat, and it's made me go, oh, you don't have to say yes to everything. I've really spent, more time engaging with my family than I have done in years. Like, we speak daily now. And I think it's taught me that no one is as busy as they say they are, ever. No one is as I think we're all a bit hypochondriac in the normal world of running around. I've got to do this, got to do that. I've not stopped. And it's like, if nothing else this year, it's proven to me that you can stop. You can give the people that matter the time. Do you know, like, because I think we get lost in a lot of these things online. Do you know, the online campaigns like #BeKind, and it's like, well, that lasted 3 weeks until you all couldn't be asked sitting inside anymore, did it? Now, when you were banging a pan for the NHS, that lasted about 5 weeks until you got over the lockdown. Then you couldn't be asked about the NHS, could you? I want to go for a mojito on Clapham Common. I need to go for a mojito on Clapham Common. It's all that. And for me, I do feel like, they say, don't they, it takes 30 days to change a habit. But I will say, because of how long this lockdown's been, it's really made me change some of my bad habits, where it's like, I'm not always rushing around. I don't need a bloody quote in my life anymore. It is just like, be kind. I I don't like all this performative stuff like the banging the pans. It's like, okay, what can I do to help the NHS? Well, I will bang a pan, but at the same time, I've not broke any lockdown rule once,
Yeah.
which I don't think many people can say, because
No.
people have been like, well, I need to go to Argos. I've got to go to Argos. Argos is open and I need a new Hoover. I've got to have this new. I couldn't possibly wait till after the pandemic to replace my Hoover. I need it now.
Yeah,
Mm.
I know.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's put things into perspective for a lot of people, hasn't it?
Yeah, I just worry because it's like, I was like, oh my God, it's so. And I will tell you what, it's enriched some of my friendships. Like, one of my best friends, Laura and Denny, we've known each other for maybe 12 years now. And you don't always make the effort in London because one person's at one end, the other's at the other. Denny moved back to Australia. So it's like, well, you know, we're on complete opposite ends of time. So, you know, it makes it hard. And during this pandemic, and they were like my best friends. We had the best time, but everyone, you just get caught up in your life, don't you? And this pandemic, every Sunday, we have had a Zoom for 1 hour. We've had a proper conversation. We've never missed it, and it's been it shows you can show up and you can make the effort. And it's like, you know, even when when it was like eat out to help out time, so everyone had plans again. Even then, we still did it. We still, like, I remember saying to my partner, be like, yes, we can go for lunch, but I can't go till 2 once I've spoken to Laura and Denny, because these things really enrich you. And if anything, I'm so worried that I'm so content at the minute, even in a global crisis. One, I think I'm a bit of a sociopath because there is a global crisis going on and I feel the most relaxed I've felt in years. And two, I'm scared I'm going to lose my career because I'm just kind of like, oh, it's fine. You know, when Jason Manford rings going, they've gone with Alan Carr. I'm like, oh, not Jason Manford. I meant my agent. When my agent rings and goes, I wish Jason Manford were my agent though. When my agent rings, they've gone with Alan Carr. You go, oh, all right. Whereas normally I'd have a breakdown for 4 days.
Mm. It's made people reassess what's important, isn't it?
Yeah. What have you learned? What have you learned?
Well, I suppose I put a Facebook status this morning actually because I was so excited about speaking to you this morning.
Oh.
And I was saying that this year has just given us different opportunities. And it's a little bit like what you were saying, you know, it's given us a chance to look at things in a different way and try and do things in a different way. And as a Pride in Surrey, as a team, we've had to sort of change, like an awful lot of what we did was about, we always have a winter Pride festival, we always have a summer Pride festival, we run some support groups through the year, and we've had to, all that's obviously been knocked on the head. So we've had to change how we've done things. So we've been really challenged as well. So we've learned new things and we've had opportunities. We would have never had the chance to speak to you before this because you'd been far too busy off on the farm or, you know, with Zoe or whatever it is you're up to.
No.
But yeah, no, I think it's been lovely, hasn't it? And we've slowed down. The pace of life has slowed down. We've got 4 kids, Stephen, right? So
oh my gosh,
life is mental. And they've got things every day of the week, and then they're shuffling off to their other parents every other week, and all of this kind of crap. And we just everything is just
this is the first time ever we've been able to sit down in the evening and have a family meal, because we're not carting one off to Cubs and one off to, you know, Sea Cadets and one off to a party. We can all sit down and we can have a meal together, and it's taught us to appreciate the smaller things, I think.
I think it is exactly that. And I just keep thinking about it all the time, being like, I feel like my old self, like where you're not getting, but like the amount of times like you're just, like I say, is where work has taken priority over family life or friendships. And all the times when someone's like, you know, I used to always dress, just have done since I was 16, 17. I would always dress in the girls section of a clothes shop as much as the boys section. And I identify as a boy, but I've just always found like, you know, a girl's blouse with a big pussy bow more my vibe. So I wear that with like a blazer and skinny jeans, and I look so fit in it, dressed like that. I look nice. And I stopped because of over all the years when you get a comment in when I had a proper job and they were like, are you wearing a sailor's top to work? And it's like, yeah, I am. I actually am. Or like when I was like dressing with the blouse and things like that, and people would say, when I was starting out in comedy, oh, he's trying too hard. He's trying too hard. He just wants to make it. First of all, you should always want to make it. And second of all, it's like, well, I wasn't trying hard. I've done it since I was 16, 17. I've wore, essentially since you dress yourself and can afford your own clothes, I've dressed how I've liked to dress. And I was like, oh, and even that, it's like, right, dug it all out of the wardrobe and I'm dressing. I mean, not right now. I mean, it's New Year's Day, though. I'm a bit hungover, so she's in her jammies. But it's like I am, I've just started dressing like that again and be like, I always put a bit of makeup on every day because it makes me feel better. I have naturally blotchy skin, so I do it. It's It's not as an artiste. I do it to cover up my blotchy skin. It makes you feel better. It gives you a nice little glow. It's no different to someone wearing fake tan, in my opinion, except I can wash it off if I do it wrong. And so I've just got back to those things and been like, oh, because you don't have people in your ear as much because we've been on our own. So I feel like for the first time in a long time, I've heard my voice again. The loudest has been my voice.
But let's hope everyone feels like that and everyone comes out of this lockdown feeling like themselves and like they've learned something about themselves.
I really hope so. I really hope people have. I mean, obviously, some people have had a horrific pandemic where they've probably had bigger things to think about. But I hope the people that have just sat around have got to know themselves again and got to know. I can't believe, honestly, do you know, like, I remember I did a post about it at the time when when you could go out and meet like 6 friends outside when it got to that bit. And I remember going to Clapham Common and people having their picnics with their mates and just walking away and leaving all their litter behind. And I was like, we don't deserve to be allowed out because you have not had enough time to think, oh, I'm just going to pick this shit up that I have brought here to enjoy with my friends. I'm going to just pick it up and put it to the bin. That's about 30 seconds that way. I'm not like, I honestly, sometimes I'm like, we don't deserve nice things. Like, if you can't even put litter in your bin. And I saw something near where I live, so we have a load of nice bars and they've got outdoor seating areas. Obviously the bars are shut at the minute, but people are still going with their mates with cans of cider or bottles of Prosecco that they've bought from the shop, and they are sitting on these seating areas. And I think it is outrageous. And I think it's like almost shoving 2 fingers up to these places. Because I'm like, I know you want to live your life and I know you want to see your friends. And I'm sure you're doing it for your mental health and to keep well. But you're sitting on the grounds of a business that sells these things that is not allowed to open. And I think there's a lack of compassion in that. And especially when they're leaving the empty bottles behind afterwards. It's like, I just think, someone would love to open that little bar and serve you outside, but they're not allowed. I just think there's a lack of thought, and I don't think these people are doing it maliciously. I think they're just not thinking about anyone else or how it might feel when the only thing is like that person that runs that bar goes to check on their premises and it's got all shit on their tables that you've left behind. Because I just think there's a lack of compassion there. That's just my rant. That's my rant.
No, it goes to show we've still got a long way, doesn't it? I mean, I think as well as the terrible handling of this by the government, the people haven't necessarily been following the rules and haven't been helping themselves.
No, and I really struggle with the government as well, because what I don't like is when Matt Hancock's on TV telling everyone they're selfish for jumping on the trains getting out of London. And I think, well, you didn't think your mate was selfish when he went for his eye test in the first lockdown, did you?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's the sheer hypocrisy, I think, of the people telling us what to do. And
I'm scared there's going to be like mass civil chaos soon because we don't respect the government anymore. And we did in the beginning, because I would say 95% of people on that first lockdown did exactly what was told. Yeah. And then everyone's like, I think I'm having the piss taken out of me here a bit, because the people that are setting the rules are breaking them. And then they're the ones going, it's new for us all. And yet we, who can't afford £10,000 fines, we get fines if we break it. And they just get to say sorry on Good Morning Britain.
Yeah.
I know. Dominic Cummings has a lot to answer for, doesn't he?
Anyway, we could sit here and we could go on about the shambles of lockdown and the shambles of 2020.
You'll never get me off if we do that.
Found, right? So, we can find the positives in this. It hasn't been an altogether awful year. We have, as communities, we've pulled together. We've seen so much brilliant human spirit. And I think that's what we've got to take away from 2020, because the rest has been rubbish.
Absolutely.
100%.
So Stephen, do you have a message for our viewers, a positive message to wrap up 2020 and to make people feel good about 2021?
Yeah, I think if you look back at times when you were in school or in college or in the workplace and you thought, this is a disaster, my life's a mess, it's not lasted forever, has it? We've come out of it, we've moved on. And I always think, me 5 years ago, I had no money and I was in an abusive relationship. And now I'm in a good relationship and I'm doing my dream job. So things always change. So I just think this has just been a moment in time and we're going to get back to normal. Keep the faith. Honest to God, just keep the faith. Whatever your faith is, keep it.
Excellent message.
Lovely.
And finally, this interview will be broadcast on our socials, but also so it gets played on Radio OK. So do you have a song that you would like us to play on your behalf on the radio?
Yes, please. I want Dance Like Nobody's Watching by Sarah Alto.
Yeah, good one. Brilliant. Brilliant. Love it.
That's amazing. Stephen, thank you so much for giving up some time on New Year's Day to talk to us. I'm sorry if you're nursing a hangover and we've been a bit too much for you.
Oh my God, I know. Thank you so much for having me and letting me do it in my scruffs, with me washing in the background. It's the kind of thing I enjoy doing.
Oh, good. Well, we'll have you back then.
But can I just say before we let you go, you do play venues near us, right? Because I know that you've played Guildford before. Reading? Do you play Reading?
Yep, I've done Guildford, G Live. I've done Reading. I mean, Reading depends what mood they're in, honestly, because the South Street Arts says I wasn't an act. I was too mainstream to be considered for an art centre.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what to say about that.
No.
How do you feel about being described as mainstream?
Well, I quite like it, really. But I also feel like, well, I can play your shitty art centre as well.
Listen, we've got lots of venues down here. Let us know when you're coming, and we'll tell all our gang, tell all our crew here.
Yeah, we'll definitely promote
I will. I hope I'm out there soon as well.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers
maybe
crossed.
in a few months' time.
Yeah, defo.
All right, Stephen Bailey, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to speak to you.
Thanks for having me. It's been a privilege to speak to you too.
And take care, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your New Year's Day.
Oh, God, you guys too.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.